And we're live with another episode of The Focal Thought. And my guest today is Zubair Sheikh, host of the Positive Vibes. How you doing, Zubair?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you?
Good, good. Nice to catch up after many years. I'm excited to have you on because positivity is something that I'm very, close and personal with. It's affected my life, as I'm sure it has yours, and a host of other people. And it's something I take very seriously. A lot of people associate positivity with optimism, and I think that's good as a starting point. If they look at the old adage where you've got the glass that's half full, the pessimist will see it as half empty, the optimist will see it as half full. But I think someone who's got a positive mindset will try to keep the glass full of water. And I think that's important because positivity is good as a mindset, as a starting point, but then you have to follow it with action, right? So that you get the benefits from
hmm
a positive mindset. So I really want to get your take on this. And if you can just start off by, telling me how you got into positive vibes.
No, 100%. And first off, thanks for reaching out, and I'm glad to do this with you. I know we've been connected in the past, but it's been a while since we reconnected. But yeah, just to start off how it started, right? November 12th, 2012, that's when Positive Vibes started, pretty much. Right before that, it was, to keep it short, it was a network marketing opportunity that I started with my brother. Didn't really know that he was into it as well, just looking for different opportunities, right? I was doing the same. An opportunity came that he brought my way, and I loved it. I felt like, this makes sense. I understand the concept of it. To fast forward a little bit, when we started, let's just take it as I wasn't following the steps, right? The way that it was supposed to be done, I got ahead of myself, right?
Yeah.
Started thinking about, what can I do for myself? How can I help people? We're going to be rich. I could help so many people. I was like, I got ahead of myself, but it felt good. That feeling that I was feeling, it wasn't like I was big headed or anything. I was like, hey, we made it, right? And
Yeah.
I started putting posts out there like that and so on. So one thing that came out of it at that time was just the concept of spreading positivity, right? Because I watched the movie The Secret. Secret, I believe, could take in two ways. You could either take it as think it's going to happen, or like what you talked about, taking some action, right?
Yeah.
And then things could follow through. So Positive Vibes started, just started posting quotes. That's all I was doing, right? Post after post, just quotes pretty much every single day. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just three platforms. So imagine reading that over and over again, right? Whether I thought I was thinking about it or not, subconsciously, I was reading it, right? I was posting it over and over again. And slowly it grew from there. The network marketing, just to get a little more into that a little bit, it didn't work out for me because again, I realized for myself, hey, I got ahead of myself, right? Put myself in a not so good situation financially at that time. But my wife even, helped me. She said, hey, you started something here with the positive vibes, keep going with it, right? And that's where it pretty much started from. And just, now we're what, since 2012, so it's almost been 10 years close to.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I like that you said that you're posting every day because that's one of the things you have to do. It's one thing to think about it, but then you have to follow it with some action. And then you need the discipline for that action in order to see some results, right?
100%, right? Because when I started in the beginning, I wasn't paying attention to positive vibes, right? Like what I was sort of creating. Like I didn't have my mind, oh, I need a big brand and what I was doing. It was just me simply understanding the concept. Hey, I want to start positive vibes. What is the concept? And just putting out quotes. But you're right, you have to be consistent, right? And I've learned that over time, right? What this meant for me, right? Starting it and the way I was doing it and what I was learning, like I said, knowingly and unknowingly, right? Just by me posting quotes. And like I said, like I explained to people that just want to start, just doesn't matter what it is. Like imagine me doing this back in 2012 with quotes. And now, of course, I'm on so many different platforms. I've been able to, just express myself in so many different ways, not only with, just for quotes, but with video form and everything else, right? But it just started by, again, staying consistent, like you talked about, just every single day posting, and it just turned into something much bigger for sure.
Got it. And how for you has it changed your mindset, like from a personal experience or
Oh, 100. I could go on forever for that for sure. But, you know, I used to think I was a positive person. And positive, I think everybody is positive in a way, but the way I vision it for myself, I thought, I'm pretty positive. I'm posting quotes, like even when I started, right?
Yeah.
And we connected in the past, chilling, like, different events that we've been to, and it's always a good vibe, right? But as I started posting, as I started this journey of positive vibes, I like to call it the positive vibes movement, I really realized that, hey, there's much more to just saying, like a phrase I would say all the time would be like Hakuna Matata, right? No worries. Like, and just the way I would, be myself, just going with the flow, which I always say, and so on. But I realized there's much more than that, right? And big words that you already said, like, taking action, right? And learning for myself that, hey, it's not just as simple as just talking, right? Like people say that these are cliches, right? Like actions speak louder than words, but some of these cliches make sense, right? If we really listen to it. So, yeah, what I learned for myself is that, hey, I got a lot to work on. I got to consciously pay attention to myself, not get ahead of myself on thinking that, hey, I know everything. There's a lot to learn. This is the journey of life, right? We don't know when our time is going to end. And I just feel like what I've learned is that every single day I'm actually looking to better myself. I'm never going to be here and be like, hey, I've been doing positive vibes. I've been learning my mindset for this many years. I know everything. No, like I'm ready to learn, right? That's why I love connecting like this, because your journey is pretty much different than mine, right? Just by you asking questions and us speaking, there's something that maybe I can pick up, something you can pick up, right? But that's one thing that I really learned in my journey is that, hey, it's a process. You know, there's things that I still don't know. And one thing I wanted to add was, imagine me doing positive vibes. 2018 was a situation I haven't really talked about yet that, maybe I'll talk a lot more down the road. But mental health is real. Like, and we all know this. I think we're talking about a lot more and so on. There was a moment that I went through 2018 that really even hit me, that I was like, wow, I let my mind, it went in a certain direction, let's say a not so good direction, and I let it get to me. Like it really got to me where it was stuck in my head, a certain type of thought process, let's say, right?
Yeah.
And, I had to deal with it and I got through it. And when I look back, even when I was going through it, I'm like, I am so grateful for me starting positive vibes, because by me staying consistent, by me just posting quotes, connecting, making videos, 2018 was a time that I could literally say, like, my life changed, and in a good way, right? It could have gone a not so good way, but just by positive vibes, I say that it saved my life. Just by me starting by posting quotes, and I keep on just talking about it, it amazes me, right? But I could just keep on going on, and I don't want to keep rambling, but those are just some thoughts about that for sure.
No, and it's very true. I mean, what you're really getting at is you're building up a momentum of positivity,
Mm-hmm.
and this actually forms a baseline, like a foundation, so that when certain events happen in life, and it's going to happen, right? They can be tragic events on all sorts of levels, at a very minimal level to a very high level, and these sort of life events can actually derail you from the trajectory of your life, right? It can actually take you into parts unknown if you don't have the awareness. But if you build up this momentum of positivity, it can actually be your savior. I fully understand that.
No, and you put it well, like just the way you put it out there, like, and there's so many people I've connected with that, you know, has helped me along the way, right? So even though I'm, like, say for myself, I'm putting out the positive vibes the way I'm doing it, but just by connecting, right, just by me watching these videos, right, of what others are doing. No, it doesn't even have to be about positivity. I just feel like we just need to continue to be ourselves, right, and continue to work on sharing who we are, right? It's not about whether, you understand it fully, whether others understand it fully. It's just like you said, like it's over time, right? This is just a gradual process that it's just going to, certain things that we're going to learn and realize that, hey, this is why this happened a year ago. This is why this happened recently. And it might not make sense at that time, but it will make sense, down the road.
Correct. Yeah. And I think I forget who said it, but someone says, life doesn't happen, to you. It
Right.
happens for you, right? So there's always a reason why something happens. There's always a growth sort of factor because of a tragic event or something like that.
100%. Like, I agree with that.
I'm reminded of this. It's one of my favorite Rumi quotes, and I hope I get this right. But he says,
Mm-hmm.
Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky. And I remember when I first, read that, it changed my whole mindset, because we're always sort of looking at, life sometimes as a sort of transactional value system, right? Like, I give you something, you give me something back. But you think about the sun is the sun. It's just doing its thing. It's shining light onto us. It's giving us life, for plants and for humans and nature and things like that. And it doesn't expect anything back, right? It just does this. And I think if we can sort of emanate that with positivity, because positivity doesn't only affect ourselves, it can affect the people that are around with us, who will affect the people around them. And that affects culture, and that affects countries and the world, right? At the highest level.
Hmm. And one word you said when you said all that that I've learned about is expectations, right? I One thing I've learned with this whole journey, even for myself, right, is what are we expecting from others, right? The Who does it start with? It starts with ourselves, right? We wake up in the morning and we look ourselves in the mirror, right? But as we go throughout a day, and it's sort of like, just living our everyday lives, we expect so much, right? You expect something when you go to, I don't know, just a restaurant or something. You expect things from your family, from your coworkers, from your manager, whatever the situation is, right? There's so much expectation. But what I've learned for myself is that no, I can't expect anything from anybody, right? I make my choices. I make a choice to get up and do something, right? Or go somewhere or talk to someone, right? I cannot expect that, hey, this next person is going to understand me. Um, and expectations is a big word. If people really just break that word down, I just feel like it could really eventually help people to understand themselves a lot better, because by me just understanding that, hey, the only thing I can expect anything from is myself, right? How can I live my life thinking that, hey, my wife should understand this? No, no one should understand anything, right? It's your life, just like I'm living my life, right? The way I am, and I understand my thoughts, my opinions, views, and everything. Why are we to a point putting other people's down level, for example, thinking that my thoughts or my views are much better than this person, right? And that whole sun analogy, like I don't think I've ever heard that one before, possibly did, but it just makes sense, right? And these type of examples, metaphors, quotes, what I've learned about them is that if we really just try to consciously just try to pay attention to what the code is trying to say. Not to say out of the blue, you read a code and say, oh, that doesn't make sense. Did we really just try to take a few seconds even, right, to understand why this is being said? And one thing before I forget that I want to say about positivity, when I started even, right, sometimes I would get comments like from different people that I would connect with and thinking, oh, positivity, you can't just be happy all the time. It's not about being happy all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like you were talking about how the sun rises, sun sets, like the sun is not out all the time, right? It's not bright all the time, right?
Yeah.
So like just understanding for myself and what I've learned for myself and then just talking to others, it's about brainwashing. And that's what I will say for myself. Like I brainwash myself with so much positivity and understanding how, the concept of a positive mindset, that when those tough and hard times come, like the example I gave for myself, I've been able to deal with a lot better. And that's where I think the whole concept, if people want to try to understand how I would put it out there with a positive mindset, that is supposed to help you get through those hard times.
Correct. Yeah, 100%. And then, if you've built up this positive momentum, which is sort of recreated your mindset, then you're not only finding positivity in positive things, but you're also finding positivity in negative things. So when you're dealing with
Mm-hmm.
adversity, like, for me, at some points, it gets to the point that I want things to be, adverse. I want there to be hard times, because I know I'll grow much more from that than from something that's just, plateauing at a positive level, right?
I like what you just said there, right? Like now, when those times do come, like even now, right? Whether it's whatever it could be related to, let's say what's happening in the world right now, right? It's about understanding that, okay, there's two ways of taking it. Am I going to sit here and be upset and angry and negative or whatever the situation, or am I going to get up and live my life the best way I can and figure this out? Right. And whatever that situation is. So you're right. Like what I've learned for myself is that, hey, these times are never going to stop. There's no way of telling life, like in general, or yourself, that, hey, just, hard times just don't come my way. It's going to happen, right? One thing I like to put out there that I talk about at times, I believe personally, the hardest thing in life for me is losing a loved one, because imagine having someone there, whoever it is, right? And they're not there anymore. Like I just can't even imagine. Like I've dealt with some loss in my life, but thankfully, and I'm so grateful and thankful that it hasn't been like I still got, thankfully my parents, I got my family, like my siblings, of course, my wife. Like thankfully, I haven't seen in my life. I got to be thankful that a major loss in my life, right? But I talk about myself. So you know how we talk about the not so good and negative. Sometimes what I do, I don't know if it's weird or not, but for me, it makes sense. I think about these tough times that maybe I've been through, that I'm going through, or might go through, because I see other people going through it, right? And I don't know if it's naturally happening or what it is, but consciously to a point, I am paying attention to it, trying to maybe sort of prepare myself to a point. And it's not like I constantly think about it. Oh, this is going to happen. This might happen. No, it's just generally like I'm trying to work on the positive side of it. I'm using that to now prepare myself that, hey, these not so good times happen. This is what you could do. This is a step you take. Hey, if this is happening, make sure you pay attention to this, and those type of, like, I guess, steps.
Correct, yeah. And we should sort of mention a caveat here because there is positive thinking, but when you're dealing with some people that have depression and mental health issues, that's important also because there's a certain level of mental health and depression that is biological, physiological, it's chemical. So for them to sort of have a positive mindset, it's very, very hard. Especially with mental health, it's the fact that you don't have control of your mind or your will to make changes, right? Because you are a victim mentally of the mental health, that you don't even know that you are maybe mentally unhealthy. So you don't have that control factor. And especially with depression, with a medical situation, for you to sort of get out of that. I remember listening to Dr. Phil many, many years ago, and he was asked about depression, and he said in his practice, when he was practicing, he always would ask people, is this environmental or is this medical? That was the first question. Because I guess, too often people start at a certain level and then they almost sort of spiral into depression, right? Because they don't have this positive momentum built up. They might not have the friends, family, or environment. They might not have the awareness to prevent themselves from, bit by bit getting closer into, a depressive state, which if they sort of had some awareness and maybe some sort of positive mindset, they could have maybe prevented it, right, at the outset.
hmm And I agree. Like I've had this discussion with many people, right, about mental health, and especially what I've experienced, right? Um, and I personally believe that I can understand both sides. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of medication. And medication, when I say medication, like right off the bat, right? Like I've dealt with my personal health issues physically, let's say, right? And I understand even now when I look back that, hey, did I need to really take all that medication, even though I have a health condition and so on? What I've learned for myself, if I look at the physical standpoint, hey, I need to take control of my life a little bit better. What am I eating? What are the vitamins I'm taking? Am I taking care of my physical health by working out, things of that nature? And I feel like it's similar to our mental health, right? What are we doing to first see if we could avoid that medication? Now, 100%, just like physical health conditions, there's mental health conditions, right? Of how we're wired or how certain people are wired and so on. Um, but I just honestly believe that environment does play a big part of it. And do we give an honest effort in, putting some time towards that, right? With the, like you said, our environment. What are we watching? What are we listening to? Who are the people around us, right? So I believe that all matters. Sorry, I was just going to call it, just turn that off. But yeah, I just honestly believe, because I look at myself that, hey, I've been doing, like, for myself, consciously for myself, paying attention to positive vibes, and still I'm dealing with, my mental health, my other factors that are coming in my life, right? So with these individuals, I don't want to say these individuals, sorry, but people that are dealing with mental health in a certain way, do they have that support system, right? I just feel like environment plays a big factor, because I'm not going to say that medication is not the answer. Like, I'm not no doctor. I'm not here to tell every individual how to live their life. But I just honestly feel that we need to give an honest effort towards the environment. And I'm not just talking about, hey, go to, a therapist or a psychiatrist, or whoever it is, to talk to them once a week, right? I'm talking about what are we doing with like our loved ones around them? How are they talking to us? Like I said, are we watching positive videos? Those are a few points about that. But I think mental health, the one good thing I'll put out there, the conversation is there, right? It's not the same like how it was like even 10 years ago, for example. And for us to continue to talk over and over again about it, whether people agree with certain points or not, the discussion is there. And I think that's like a big, big part of it.
Correct. And you have to have at the outset some sort of open-mindedness, right? Because the other thing, like you're saying, is it's not a destination, it is a journey. If you do get into positivity, it's not going to solve all the problems in your life. It's not going to make them go away, but it will give you some sort of, tools to use so that when adversity does happen, you don't have to be a victim of adversity, right? You'll be able to navigate the rough waters and then, come out ahead with growth, which is really important. I remember just recently I was watching Bob Proctor, and anyone who knows, Bob's story, he started with Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, way back in the early days, and he built a successful company. And if you watch any of his interviews, he always pulls out the original book, that he read, the stories from, and some of the pages are torn off, and it's a very antiquated book, and he carries that along everywhere with alongside a gold card inside his pocket. And he was talking about how people, they should really know how to use some of their senses in way of the will, intuition, things like that. And he says, so then the interviewer asked him, so you must be at the point where you've mastered these senses. And he said, no, in fact, far from it. Like, I study every day. I actually read the Think and Grow Rich book every day, because I'm continuously sort of peeling the layers of the onion, right? Like, there's so much to know, there's so much to go through, because what you're really trying to do is look at all what he calls the paradigms in his mind that have sort of taken over his mindset, that he might not have controlled inputting there. These paradigms, which are habits or values or beliefs, they come from, again, culture, environment, religion, parents, the caregivers that have brought you up, opinions of friends, etc., the books you read, the TV you watch. And his whole concept is to continuously peel away at these unwanted paradigms and choose the paradigms that he wants. It was very interesting to see someone like him, who's, I think, mastered the law of attraction, still want to navigate and better himself.
And that's what I've learned from, like, you just gave me that example for myself. And it's all about change, right? We're all changing, whether we consciously are seeing it or not. Like, we are changing, right, as time moves forward, and it's just natural, right, a part of life. And I understand. I like that concept because, like, if you read a book, for example, and it was 10 years ago, imagine in 10 years what you've been through, all of the experiences, your thought process, like you were saying, habits, all of that. And reading that book, let's just say one time 10 years ago and what you thought about it, and reading it again after 10 years, right? Um, the advice that we're given, right? I think this is the same similar example. When you're growing up, you're told something by your parents, right? You don't believe in it or you don't understand it. And how many times have I said, like, as I got older, now I understand it, right? Like, now I understand what my parents were trying to say because it's based on my experience now, right? For me to get to that point to understand, right? But that whole example that you gave, it just really resonates with me because I could see that to a point for myself, right? Of how I've been living my life, what I've been learning, what I've been understanding, my thought process, right? Um, but 100%, like whatever you said, like I couldn't agree more.
So say you come across someone and they're having a tough time in life and they're looking to get over the hurdle, and they've never gotten into sort of positive thinking formally, in terms of following the greats or reading the books or anything like that, some sort of structured curriculum. How would you advise them to sort of better that hurdle that they're facing? What would you tell them?
So the one thing that I've talked about and I put out there is that start with one word. I really feel that words are powerful, right? Words could be taken in so many different ways. I feel like if you break down one word, imagine, like there's so many other words that could be connected with it. So the advice that I've given, or what I've talked about for myself, and it's something I still need to implement a lot more. I'm not fully consistent on it, but what I realize for myself, the more I talk about it, that's what keeps pushing me. So if someone simply, let's say you take one word, and I'll start with the word thank you, right? Literally what I recommend is that when you wake up in the morning, just to remind yourself, even put a sticky note or something by your dresser. When you wake up, just take, I'm not even talking about taking a minute or 2 minutes, right? Take maybe a few seconds though, consciously, that you sit up and you say the word thank you. Just say it, right? Take 2 to 4 seconds, say thank you, sit there. I'm not saying to think about the word. I'm not saying to, write down what you're thankful for. Just take that word thank you. Do it one more time. Do it before you go to bed. Take a few seconds, say the word thank you, but consciously say the word, right? What I've understood for myself and learned, gradually what is going to happen after a few days, let's say you do that, consciously it's going to be in your mind, that word, because you've been doing this consciously. You took some effort to say the word thank you in the morning and in the evening, right? Now what's going to happen, what I feel naturally might happen, because I've experienced it, that throughout the day, you're going to see that, hey, someone says thank you to you. It's going to just, whether you realize it or not, it's going to resonate with you, because you're going to remember, hey, I said this word in the morning, right? It's like an example, and I don't know if there's a term for it. Like you think about a certain car, and what happens? You, all of a sudden, you are seeing that car throughout the day or throughout the week or whatever it is. And you realize, oh, this is a sign. But I think it's just not knowing it subconsciously, if that's the right term, that you are just thinking about it. So those cars were probably already there. It's just now you're focused on it. So now you might be realizing them a lot more. So same thing with the words, right? And I would even say, like, and you could play with this however you want. My opinion, though, how I would do it is focus on a word and go for it. Like, don't just do that thank you for a week. Do it for a month. I think 30 days is a good time frame, and change up that word if you wish, right? And what I also believe, I'll add, that has happened, or that I believe that will happen, you're going to gradually not just say the word thank you. You might question yourself, hey, why am I saying this word thank you? Right? And gradually, even if you want to push yourself a little bit, then tell yourself even, okay, what am I grateful for? Eventually, then you could get to that point, right? To start writing it down, or start thinking about, that word a little bit more for yourself.
Correct. Yeah, I think it's called the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon, where something you
Okay.
learned or noticed, it starts appearing everywhere.
Hmm.
Frequency illusion, and I like that,
There
because
you
you're
go.
talking actually about the vibration of the word, right? And even if you're not,
Hmm.
like you're saying, conscious about it, the word itself by nature has its vibration, which is conditioning you. And that's what you're getting at, is right. Every day, just condition yourself with little bits of positivity till you build up that momentum.
And the momentum is the big word, right? Like, I understand some people, they will look at someone, let's just say a Tony Robbins, they'll say, hey, I want to be like that. But he's not there like in, just in one day. Like, he has his own journey, his own life, right? Just like I know for myself, I'm experiencing it for myself. You're experiencing your life and your journey for yourself, right? But I feel like, of course, the world that we live in, with everything is like, everybody wants it quick and fast, right? And they feel like, hey, there must be a quick answer, but that's not the answer. So I just feel like, I understand that sometimes people feel like, oh, I don't have enough time, but I feel like we need to move away from that and understand that, hey, we do have time. It probably happened to many people. You look back and you're like, oh, this year just passed by, but it passed by the same time, the same pace for everybody else, right? So you could be looking at you and your friend going through the same journey of life, right? And maybe you feel that that friend is a little bit, ahead of you in certain ways. But why is that? They probably just took a certain, different steps than you. But you could either just sit there and be like, oh, it's not for me, it's not going to work out, or you could try to learn from that, right? And understand that, hey, I just got to take it day by day. And it just starts with something small, right? There's no, my personal opinion, you could try your best to force it, but I feel the best way is do it at your pace. If you're okay with, taking 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day to meditate or watch videos and try to get there, fine. But if you feel that, hey, I don't want to sit there for 20 minutes, I can't do that, then do it at your own pace, because we're all different. And one thing I keep talking about is be you. Do your thing. You know yourself no better than anybody else. Not then it doesn't matter if your spouse, your parents, nobody knows you better than you. So even though you might say something and people might disagree, oh, don't think like that. Don't say that. Be positive, whatever it is. That's not the personal way I would put it, right? If I was talking to someone, but it happens, and I can understand, right? Everybody has their different views of how to talk to someone and teach someone. But if you honestly just try your best, and the one thing I say, just have that 1% in your heart, in your mind, that hey, I want to maybe better myself, or whatever it is. I want to achieve something. I want to, um, get to that next day, right? Not get stuck or depressed or whatever it is. Have that 1%, because it's really difficult if you just have that mindset of 0% that, hey, nothing, like nothing's going to fix me, nothing. And there's not even that like small percentage that you could try to get in there to say that word, thank you, which I think is sort of, not possible. I feel like in a day or in a week or something, there's going to be that one positive word that if you try to consciously pay attention to, it can make the biggest difference in the long run.
Got it. And by starting with that, then eventually the gratitude frequency will get into you, and that'll
Mm-hmm.
slowly start to build up your momentum. And you're right about finding your personal frequency, because everyone is different. You should find your own music that's positive, your own literature that's positive, the stuff that you stream on, YouTube or the internet that's positive. The company that you keep, right? That's positive also.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was listening today, someone said that opinions is, one of the cheapest commodities in the marketplace, right? So, opinions help, but always try to take it with a grain of salt, because it might not apply to you. Sometimes when people give their opinions, they're giving it from their perception, right? Which might not necessarily help your perception.
And perspective, like I like you use that word, like that's major. Like that's something that I know that's helped me a lot, especially when I started podcasting actually, right, in 2017. That's when I really started understanding perspective, because I started listening to a lot of people in different ways. But yeah, like I always try to put out there is like when I speak is that just do you, right? You know you best. And I understand it's difficult sometimes, like because we're all wired differently, that you see other people achieving certain things or maybe a bit happier and so on. But all you can really do is focus on you. And I feel like the more you focus on you as much as possible, and just figure it as you go. Just like I know there's like cliches and you hear it all the time, but look at where you were when you were like an infant, and then you grow. Like I understand these examples are given, but if you try to pay attention to why are these people talking about these examples, why are these things being said, it can help you in so many different ways.
Got it. And if it's any comfort to anyone, the moment you make the decision to do that, you'll find the difference right away. Like in your mind and in your body, you'll just feel it right away. It happens like instantaneously.
And that's amazing that you said that. Like, and it's true though, right? Because you're consciously making an effort. Like, if you just consciously do it, like, you're right. Like, you're gonna, because like, even though you're faking it, people want to use the word fake it, which I'm not a big fan of, but I understand the concept. But it just feels good. And once you start getting that good feeling. Like I said, you're going through that hard time and you're trying something like this, whatever it might be, and you get that feeling, like it's a good feeling, right? And you don't want that feeling to leave. And that's why I think for myself, positive vibes, like one thing that I've learned for myself is that I just like putting out content, right? I understand if we look at other aspects like business wise or whatever it is of how you should do it, people talk about, content quality if we get into that aspect. But I'm like, just put it out. Whatever you want to do, put it out to the world, right? If you want to share things on social media, if you want to keep to yourself, but just again, just look yourself in the mirror and understand, hey, this is the person I need to take care of first, because it starts with you. And then that's where you could actually connect with so many other people or so many other things in so many different ways.
No, that's awesome. So thanks so much. I mean, again, for coming on the show, and I hope people will listen to this and just take that first step, which will lead to many steps that eventually become automatic and totally change the trajectory for your life, as it did for you and has for me as well. So Zubair, if people want to get a hold of you, and I'll put this in the show notes too, how can they reach you?
So a few platforms I've talked about because I'm a lot of places, but my primary ones will be positive vibes underscore 101 on Instagram. You can check out my YouTube channel, Positive Vibes 101. And I guess those are the new two main places, right? If you want to connect on Twitter and Snapchat, it'll be Positive Vibes 82. So I'll leave those four. But I want to thank you as well, my friend, for reaching out. Keep doing your thing, as I keep saying, keep being you. This was actually fun for me. You know, I've been recently getting back into podcasting because I moved away from it a bit, and this was a good time for sure.
Oh, that's great. And thanks again for coming on the show, and I wish you well.
All right, take care, my friend.